Friends, with those lights shining brightly and illuminating the way, I would invite you to pray with me. God be in my head and in my understanding. God be in my hands and in my interacting. God be in my heart and in my deepest longing. God be at my end and be at my beginning. Amen. Now, I will be honest. My family and I still have our Christmas tree up. Totally decorated, lights still on, ornaments everywhere. I just don't feel called yet to let it go. I want to hold on to that joy. I want to still see the gifts about us. It's the Epiphany season. I think that's still liturgically appropriate. Friends, did you hear about the gift that arrived on our common this past week? If your head, for whatever reason, has been buried in the sand, I bless you, but I want to share with you some news that a new memorial has arrived in Boston town. A 31-foot wide, 22-foot high, 40,000-pound steel and bronze memorial wrapped up in a box entitled The Embrace is now a permanently embedded fixture of our church's extended front yard. I like to name the Boston Common as maybe our front yard, with apologies, Liz Visa. Into that sacred place known to the rest of the world as our nation's oldest public park. And thank you, Liz Visa, President of the Friends of the Public Garden, for your stewardship and supporting role in this historic installation. Now, I know if you are like me, you've heard a lot in the past 48 hours about this installation, but I don't feel like we've heard enough. For friends, this is, as Reverend Liz Walker said, a thrilling moment in the history of our city, and one we would do well not to pass over too quickly. And I feel it's a tremendous joy, an unexpected joy for not only our city, but the wider world. For this is a monument that has been dedicated to both the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. These two pillars in the movements for racial justice, civil rights, and nonviolent change in this nation, who had their first date here in Boston, which supposedly landed at the Common. Now, while history holds up these two often larger-than-life prophet saints as pillars, I do not think they saw themselves often as such. One of the many striking qualities of this monument, in contrast to many others, is that neither of their faces appear, differing from the also profound MLK monument in our nation's capital, with King's resolute arms crossed and visage emerging from those granite slabs some 30 feet high. Boston's memorial is all about a fierce tenderness of an entwined arm and hand embrace. Artist Hank Willis Thomas conceptualized the sculpture based off of a photograph from 1964 that depicts a moving embrace between Martin and Coretta at a news conference held soon after learning that Reverend King had won the Nobel Peace Prize. But like all icons often hewn from granite in our minds, unmovable, unshakable, the backstory to this moment memorialized in that photo and now in this incredible sculpture in our front yard is one far more tender, uncertain, vulnerable. It's a human story. For on the morning of October 14th, 1964, when the Nobel Peace Prize Committee called from Oslo to share the good news, it was actually Coretta who answered the phone. For Martin was not at home. He was in an Atlanta hospital being treated for exhaustion. The day before, he returned home from a grueling speaking tour, and his appearance was so alarming to his spouse that she took him directly to the hospital, where he was checked in and given some sleeping pills to rest. He awoke the next morning to Coretta's phone call in his hospital room, sharing this amazing news, and he simply replied on the phone, "All right, and hung up. And he called her back and said, "Wait, did you just call me?" And she said, "Yes, you won the Nobel Peace Prize." The iconic photo of their embrace that inspired the sculpture was taken later that day at a press conference, and in that photo and this new memorial, Coretta's strong arm of support is unmistakably undergirding this embrace, holding up a joyful yet exhausted Martin. The work of justice, the work of the movement that confronts the structural evils in society and speaks truth to power is exhausting. And it so often hinges on a hug. We memorialize it in sculpture. We memorize it in scripture. Like Psalm 85, love and truth meet in the street, right living and whole living embrace and kiss. And it's in our stories, like the ones lifted in today's gospel lesson read so well to us by Holly. Like the kings, I wonder if the first disciples of Jesus were exhausted. These were working class laborers who relied on the wild sea and its creatures for vocation and sustenance. Fisher folk who first followed John the Baptizer, who prepares the way for them to then follow Jesus. Perhaps they were already tired when a call comes to them, not from Oslo, but from this newly baptized one upon whom the holy dove has descended and remains. And notice this call. These first words of Jesus out of the mouth as recorded in John's gospel come in the form of a question. What are you looking for? It's that great spiritual inquiry, that question that motivates the search, the quest for meaning and purpose in life. What are you looking for? Jesus' inaugural words to those who want to follow are provocative and evocative. They require a response. Words not steeped in direction or instruction about how they should act, what they should believe. Words not declaring that the baptizer had implied, yes, I am the Messiah, and here's what to expect if you follow me. But words that invite a deep introspection, a look inside. What are you looking for? What are you hoping for? Ultimately, what is your deepest longing? As we prayed at the beginning of our time with those ancient indigenous Celts, God be in my heart and in my deepest longing. Jesus invites those who would follow to look deep within and ponder the core questions of meaning. What truths do we seek? What worldviews make sense to us? What do we think? And what ultimately motivates us and makes us move? As prophetic author Barbara Kingsolver writes, the very least you can do in your life is to figure out what you hope for, and the most you can do is live inside that hope. So friends, what are you looking for? As followers of Jesus, Martin, Coretta, what do you hope for? What do you most desire? Sometimes this question confuses us, even unsettles us, perhaps, and the critique can come. We don't spend enough time with it, lingering it in our liturgy and in our spiritual lives. The inaugural followers of Jesus in this gospel account are first seemingly confused and unprepared by this question, and they reply to it with another inquiry. Rabbi, teacher, where are you staying? At first, perhaps a knee-jerk, off the top of their head response to an unexpected inquiry, or perhaps an equally deep spiritual query. Where are you staying? The Greek here implies abiding. Where do you lodge? Where are your roots, Jesus? Where do you connect with this earth? Where do you sleep at night? This place-based question is profound as it causes us to think about Jesus' earthiness. It reminds us that he slept, he lived in an actual place, in an actual setting. Yes, an itinerant rabbi who self-identified not as a fox who had a den or a bird who had a nest, but as an underhoused sojourner who had no lasting place to lay his head. It links us to our liberation theology's cherished declaration that where there are people experiencing houselessness, marginalization, racism, genderism, classism, ableism, heterosexism, there is God. And where there also should be the church arriving in solidarity to speak about more justice and equity. and asking the questions, where are you staying? Where do you sleep at night? Where do you pay your bills? What is it like when you show up with a Section 8 voucher and you are denied again and again? What is it like when you sleep on a grate near the subway to keep warm? What is it like for you? The response to this inquiry of the disciples is Jesus' profound response. Come and see. A radical, relational invitation. And in this simple response, we hear another invitation to place and faith. Consider the places of the world where I am. Jesus invites the followers to get out and come and see, smell these places, taste them, do something different, find a new path, and you might find meaning, and indeed, you might find that true inner sense of passion and calling. You may find the deepest things that you long for in coming and seeing where I might be. These brief 13 verses of chapter 1 in John's Gospel contain the words see and look 10 different times. Following Jesus is about widening our vision toward new epiphanies, new landscapes, new understandings, and greater awareness, to open ourselves to the way the world is, to not shy away from it, the hard truths, the realities, to seek out what is happening. I love what comes next in the text. They came and saw where he was staying, and they remained with him that day. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Friends, responding to this intimate invitation to place is grace for us. I wonder what the disciples saw. The text does not explain. We are left to our sanctified imaginations. Maybe they encountered a simple outdoors space, maybe a tree house, a shanty town, temporal, homeless shelter, subway, grate. Whatever the setup, though, I imagine it was filled with hospitality, for they lingered there all day, all the way up until 4 in the afternoon. It was a place that held them, where they felt seen, yes, where they felt embraced. Invited in and embraced in the places where our radical rabbi abides and moves in this world, often on the margins. When we go into those places, friends, we too are invited in to that sacred hug. On Friday of this past week, on the day of the great reveal of the embrace, Reverend Joshua and I were honored to be invited to join an interfaith processional of clergy and faith communities led by our Jewish siblings, including our next-door neighbors here at Central Reformed Temple. Together, conjuring the images of Rabbi Abraham Heschel, who let his legs pray as he marched in solidarity with Dr. King and others, we processed from here on Newbury Street to the Common to take part in that inspiring art reveal. Catherine, you joined us, and I know many others did, over screens in solidarity. Friends, again, this was a profoundly moving event with song and speech. It had some echoes of a celebratory worship service and a prophetic call to action. And it was a profound centering of Black joy in the heart of this Boston, so desperately needed. One that our city has not been able, I feel, to do right by for many years. Incredible panoply of Black leaders on hand: Rachel Rollins, Ayanna Presley, Deval Patrick, Amari Parrish Jeffries, Liz Walker, Jeffrey Brown. So many trailblazers, in addition, like Mayor Wu, Governor Healy, and a story that was centered around a new hope and a new vision for our city. It seems lofty. It seems perhaps out of reach at times, but friends, without the vision, we might perish. Without the art, we may not see the come and see invitation to something different. Our mayor said this monument, this sculpture, helps us to open our eyes to the injustices of racism and bring more people into the movement for equity moving forward. Martin Luther King III, who was on hand with his family, his spouse, Andrea Waters King, prophetically preached that this new memorial honors not just Dr. King, but Coretta Scott King equally, who held him up not only as spouse, but powerful champion of many causes in her own right, from civil rights to LGBTQ equality. But it was Yolanda Renee King, their 14-year-old child and the only grandchild of Martin and Coretta, who I think moved us all beyond. She said, "I'm very proud to be their granddaughter, but I'm also challenged by their inspiring legacies of vision and courage and hope and healing. But I know that I'm not alone," Yolanda said. "There is a sense in which we are all children and grandchildren of Martin and Coretta Scott King. We are all challenged to carry forward their unfinished work." That was impressive and moving, but then this moment, only caught by the intrepid reporting by LaToya Edwards from NBC 10, who caught Yolanda as she was leaving the stage and said, "Hold on, wait, please, come back. There's more for you to teach us." It was as if Jesus reached out and said, "Where are you looking? What are you looking for? Where are you going?" LaToya said to Yolanda, "Who do you think you are?" She went on to say, "I just think our world needs a whole lot more love. It's what my grandparents were all about, and it's what this public art is all about." And in this moment, she renamed it Love 360. This prophetic 14-year-old vision of seeing something even brand new in a new way, casting us all into this new entwinement of seeing love all around, is an invitation for us. For the first time at this gathering, I heard a term which I have known, but I did not know what it was called: spatial justice. That concept that space and place matter, and where we are in this world, where we live, where we work, and where we play, have direct impacts on our lives. The environmental and climate justice movements have long known this, that living near toxins harm us. Conversely, living near open spaces that reflect truth and beauty liberate and elevate us. Spatial justice is that work to ensure that everyone has equal access to the blessings of good space. Come and see where I stay is the spatial justice that Jesus invites all of us into. And I pray this new memorial is an initiative that is doing so. We remember it is not just this incredible sculpture, but also the Freedom Plaza that encircles it, naming the 69 civil rights and social change agents from Greater Boston in the late 20th century. It also links us directly with that freedom rally that Dr. King took over 50 years ago, that emanated from Roxbury and came to the Common, to the Parkman Bandstand. Embrace Boston's next plan is to reverse that Freedom Rally march and build an Embrace Center, not here in the Common, but in the new heart of Boston, we hope and pray, Nubian Square, that will extend it into an Embrace Center, a flourishing center of solidarity, of education, of engagement for our future. Spatial justice. Come and see. Be curious. Be in relationship. Find that core true self. Let it emerge, your deep desire, and use it not just for yourself, but for the beauty and betterment of our world. Friends, this is our invitation. As we collectively go into that embrace and feel the love of the saints who have gone before us and the 14-year-old saints who are coming up after us, inspiring us, like Eloise and others, the young ones in our midst. Friends, we are invited to go, but also to be. What are you looking for? Come and see. May we witness as well. This embrace is for all, for we all are exhausted, and we all need that support. We all need to be lifted up, for we are caught, of course, in that inescapable network of mutuality, tied together in a single garment of destiny. May we embrace each other as we are embraced. May it be so.